you are a new mom or you are about to be a new mom and start breastfeeding, not giving up at the slightest difficulty is going to be your biggest strength, because it's not natural or easy for a lot of women, and it is really easy to feel like you aren't doing a good job, that you don't get it, or that it's not coming easily. So yeah, here I am at 16 months breastfeeding. So going into this, like, I just like did not do any time researching, very little preparation. I'm a very hands-on learner. I went into it, the plan was to breastfeed. Ultimately, breastfeeding would be the best for our lifestyle, and I did understand that bottle feeding and pumping was more where I needed more stuff. Not necessarily needing to exclusively breastfeed, but like having that be the primary way that I feed Dune for the first year would be a lot easier on our lifestyle. We were really big travelers. We like to go out. We like to go do things. And less thing to have to worry my pump and to bring bottles and to bring stuff to clean it with. A lot of things that go into pumping. If you want to breastfeed, you definitely should pump too. So I didn't put that together. If I wanted any freedom at all in the first year, I needed to be able to pump. And I needed to be able to have enough milk. Go hand in hand. Unless you literally want to be tied to your baby and never be able to leave your baby for more than 2 hours, want to have breast milk be their primary source of nutrition for the first year, you also do have to pump. So I wasn't prepared in that regard, that like I also would need to pump. Mom did breastfeed me, my brother, and my sister. I went and lived with my parents for the first 6 weeks after June was born. It was amazing. If you have the ability where either you can have a parent or an in-law stay with you, or if you can go live with them for the first 3 or 4 weeks, like the first month. I used to live in Korea, but I learned in a lot of Asian cultures, they do a confinement. For the first like 30 days, you have either a family member or hired help in the home with you, helping take care of you. So I didn't quite understand that part of it, that extra help. I was very like independent and like, I don't need help. And that's something I've like really embraced after becoming a mom, is like, oh my God, yes, I need help, please help me. Very resistant of help before, but I really suggest, you might be feeling the same way. I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna do that. No, I want my own space. A good way to look at it, I learned this from my doula. I suggest you also hire a doula. She said a really great role to think about is your mom is there to help you as you are her baby, and you are there to learn how to help your baby. My misconception with help, with feeling like I'm putting responsibility where it should be my responsibility, but that's not what it is. It's like your parents or people who care about you, they want to help you so that you can now help your baby. Because I was living with my mom for the first 6 weeks and my husband was there, like we moved in with them for 6 weeks. We live in the same city, so it's it's not like we live far away. You have so many more opportunities and touch points for like help. She was there for like every single time I was nursing Dune or trying to nurse Dune. So it's like if she saw me struggling, she just came over and helped. Have to like take the time, muster energy to call her and be like, hey, I'm struggling. It's like she was able to help like right then and there. My biggest piece of advice, don't just listen to one person's advice. Source as many tips from people, from other moms as you can, because every baby is different and every mom's journey is different. For the first like 2 or 3 weeks, I made sure to be around other new moms with babies who were breastfeeding once a week. A really low commitment, once a week, socialize, but being around these other new moms, hang out with another new mom for a few hours, like you're going to have to end up nursing, like you're gonna go through this stuff, and it's like they'll be there, no, I did this, you know, it just naturally comes out when you're just like around them. And if you feel like you don't have any other new moms that you're friends with that are kind of going to be in that first year baby phase at the same time as you, a year or two out from you, I made a lot of new mom friends by going to prenatal yoga. I'm in Virginia Beach, so I went to a studio that does prenatal yoga. It's like other moms who are due around the same date. Something like that where you live would be really helpful. Just anything that prenatal stuff where you can meet other pregnant women. Oh, here's the other thing. Like I had basically a couple friends who like kind of freaked me out. They're like, don't introduce a bottle in the first month. Like don't do it because that's going to damage your nursing. Like you're gonna have struggles nursing if you introduce a bottle too soon, and the, you know, doctors or pediatricians might freak you out that they've lost too much weight. Very normal for them to lose 10% of their body weight in the first few days. Like that is normal. If it's 10%, that's fine. If they're losing like 20%, okay, that's an issue. I had a few friends who were a few months ahead, and basically the ones that I saw that had success breastfeeding didn't give a bottle the first few weeks to a month. And the ones that had troubles with breastfeeding, gave a bottle within the first 2 weeks. So that was just my analysis. That's what I had to go. I'm not saying this is like the end all be all, but that's just what I saw with people that I know, is that the ones who gave the bottle didn't end up continue breastfeeding or had more struggles than the ones who were like no bottles. From talking to my friends, that's like what happens basically if your doctor thinks that they lost too much weight, they're gonna say you need to supplement, and give a bottle of formula. From just talking to other mom friends, being concerned about the amount of ounces that they're drinking, if they're having enough changes, they said they need to be having like 7 changes a day, you're feeding them enough. Have these measures where you don't need to be measuring the amount of ounces that you're feeding them in order to make sure they're getting fed enough. Other thing that I learned is that the amount that you are able to pump is not indicative of your supply. If you can only pump a little bit of milk, it does not mean you have a low supply. I think that's just another big misconception and I thought that. Now the hospital, like, they want you to like track them on this like pen paper situation, just have you tracking that they are getting enough milk by how many diapers you need to change. I was like, I'm such a technology girl. I was like, I need an app. So I found this app called Nara Baby, and I absolutely loved it to track all of the feedings, the diaper changes and like what they were. So baby Doom was born. I'm in the hospital for 2 days and I'm like, all right, we're gonna breastfeed. I didn't even bring my pump. Like I wasn't even thinking about pumping, and I think that's okay. But what I would do differently next time is I would start having 1 pumping session every morning. I wouldn't pressure myself to start in the first few days, but like by the end of the first week, I would start pumping once a morning and literally save that feeding, put it in the freezer. Like don't use it, put it in the freezer, and basically treat that pump session as like an addition to all of your nursing. I learned in the beginning is like you just create the most milk in the very first month, unless you just happen to be an oversupplier, which happens, but it's not normal. The normal thing is that you literally make enough milk for your baby. The other thing I found is I felt like when it was struggle, and this is what I've heard from talking to my other mom friends who struggle, like if they're struggling, if they're not getting enough milk, it's like also probably not your supply, it's just like they're not latching on correctly. Nurses taught me how to know that they are latched in the beginning is you'll suddenly feel cramping in your stomach because that's your uterus contracting. So that was always like my gauge in the very beginning, one of the nurses told me. So the one thing I would do is when we're having trouble latching is I would like take a break, calm them down a different way real quick. Like if they're crying because they're hungry, take a break, resituate, okay, and then try again. Wouldn't it just be like, oh my God, they're crying, okay, just go get a bottle. Like, hey, let's just calm them down with like some other soothing, and then let's try feeding again. Important thing, and my husband would always say is make sure you're hamburgering. That's what I learned at the hospital. You literally squeeze your nipple to their mouth and you point it up, the nipple up, for the nipple to be touching the roof of their mouth. Until Dune was 6 months, I had to take my boob, put it in his mouth. He didn't just come up and start nursing like he does now. No. And for most of the feeding, like I would be supporting. My nursing pillow was a godsend. That was amazing. I literally lived with that thing. I don't personally like the boppy. I see a lot of people use the boppy. I love the butter nursing pillow because it's so much more supportive. I also think it's cuter. So I have 2 of them, and I highly suggest if you are in a good sized living situation or house, having 2 to have multiple rooms that you'll be in with your baby is really helpful, so you're not like lugging the pillow around with you. I really like the butter nursing pillow because it's really, really supportive, which was also really helpful because Dune, he was preemie size, and so he like literally was so small. I needed a lot of support for him up here for him to be like at my boob and to be feeding him comfortably. I think that's a huge thing with breastfeeding, having it be really comfortable for you. So just like comfy clothes and like button downs, but also a glider chair with a back that goes above your head so that you can comfortably lay back and rock, just like a comfortable chair situation, just like made it really great. And the pillows and so much water, like having a table by you filled up with a huge giant water bottle and lots of snacks because the hunger just like kicks in. It's the other clue with like the nursing, the milk is flowing because you suddenly become insanely thirsty. Like insanely thirsty. And the thing is, I didn't experience that with pumping, just with nursing, which is so interesting. What I learned is night nursing is really good for your baby. That is when they're getting all this really fatty milk. It's just like they're actually getting like a bulk of milk from these night nursing sessions. Like, people are so consumed with getting their baby to sleep through the night, but in these first 3 months, they are getting so much supply and nutrition from you in those night hours, because that's when you produce the most amount of milk, is the night and the early morning. Other thing I learned is that your volume of milk is a lot higher in the morning because they're sleeping longer. So what happened for us is, like, he would cluster feed from 6 to 10 p.m. and then I would let him have like longer stretches of sleep. So maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep. And this is in the first month, or 3 hours of sleep, and then nurse instead of every other hour. So it was like that cluster feeding let us have those little bit longer stretches at night. Volume of milk is in the morning. It's like more watery to like really fill them up from sleeping more during the night. And then the evening, it's actually a lower volume, but it's a lot fattier to like help them support sleeping longer at night. I just think it's so cool how our bodies literally change the type of milk that we are giving our baby based on their needs. Like, no formula can do that. I'm not bashing formula at all. That's the other thing. It's like your baby's getting fed is the most important priority. It needs to be above your ego about breastfeeding, because if you are nursing, even if you're splitting it half and half, you're still getting all the benefits of nursing from you. I just think that's so cool how literally our body's like, oh, we're gonna like make it like more voluminous, like more volume in the morning, and then in the evening it's like, oh, we're gonna make sure this milk is more fatty for the baby, and like if you're sick, it's going to like add the antibody. It's so cool. Like, when you kiss your baby, you pick up the bacteria so that then you can make milk that makes antibodies to protect them. No formula can do that, and I just think that is so cool. So those types of things were really motivating for me to keep trying in these struggles. And here I am now at 16 months, and I had no idea I would get here, and I'm just, wow. Like, I just overcame so much, and the biggest thing with it is really just persevering, and I talk about in this video, so you can watch that as well. But yeah, I have in this video over here, I found out I was pregnant. I had a pretty crazy life the last few years. We were traveling full-time, abroad, Airbnb-ing our house. We were living in Korea and then living in Mexico, and that's when I got pregnant, and so we moved back to Virginia Beach. I've been working remotely for 6 years now, so now I'm like a work from home mom. So I share a lot of those tips. Make sure you subscribe. So if you've stumbled upon this video, my name's Kelly. It's really nice to meet you if I don't already know you and you're not already following me. Motherhood, baby, life content, I share a lot of that on Instagram too now. So you can go ahead and follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. And we also have a family vlog channel, Justin and Kelly Hill, and a family vlog like TikTok as well. So you can follow us on all of those.